This is WAEC June 2022 General Mathematics Paper 2, and we are answering question number 3, and the question reads: a chord obtains an angle 72 degrees at the center of a cycle, and that cycle has radius 24.5 meters. What you are asked to do is to calculate the perimeter of the minor segment, and you are asked to take pi as to 22/7. This is the minor segment that we are interested in finding. It is a perimeter. Solution to this very problem. So the formula for finding perimeter of this very minor segment will now be length of the chord, this very chord, plus the length of the minor arc. This is the minor arc. If you add the two distances, it will give you the perimeter of the minor segment. So let's attempt to get the length of the chord first. This is an isosceles triangle. It's an isosceles triangle. This triangle that you can see inside of this cycle is an isosceles triangle because this is radius, this also is radius. Properties of isosceles triangle says if you now draw from this opposite corner to this side so that it will now be perpendicular to this, you now have this chord divided exactly into two equal halves. So this will now be D. This will also going to be D, and this angle 72 will also be divided exactly into two equal halves to get 36. So you can now apply your trig ratio to find the length of this side of this right angle triangle. This is the side denoted by letter D. This will now be opposite to the angle 36, and this side 24.5 will now be the hypotenuse. So this D is opposite. This is hypotenuse, so you have take the sine ratio. Sine says opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So I'm going to have my D, that is small letter D, as 24.5 multiplied by sine 36. So finding sine 36 from your calculator or from the four-figure table, you now have 0.5878 multiplied by 24.5. If this multiplication is done correctly, you now have your D as 14.401 meter. This will now be the value of D. But the length of this chord is given by D plus this very D. So length of my chord is now going to be 14.401 added to another 14.401. That will give result 28.802 meters. This will now be the length of the chord. So next you now do is to find the length of this minor arc. The length of the minor arc. Remember, length of arc is given by the formula theta over 360 multiplied by 2 pi r, where theta is now the angle subtended at the center, which will now be this angle 72, and the radius will now be the radius of the cycle, which is 24.5. So substituted in this formula, theta by 72, r by 24.5, and pi by 22/7 correctly, you now have 72 over 360 multiplied by 2, multiplied by your pi, which is 22/7, multiplied by your r, which is 24.5. If this multiplication is performed correctly, you now have final result as length of the minor arc as 30.8 meters. This is the length of the minor arc. So I'll go back to my formula determining perimeter of the minor segment. I'll now replace the length of chord by 28.802 and length of the minor arc as 30.8. That will give the perimeter as 28.802 plus 30.8. If this addition is done correctly, you now have the perimeter as 59.6 meters, and that answered this very question. So let me just share with you quickly the marking scheme of this very question as it is contained in the WAEC official marking scheme. So the very first mark is the method 1 mark, and this method 1 marking attempted to get this D, that is half the length of the chord. You now have this as D equals to 24.5 sine 36. You now have this method 1 mark. When you now find the sine 36 and substitute it correctly, you have this method 1 mark. And when you now have your D as 14.401 meter, you have this accuracy 1 mark. Next mark is bonus 1 mark is for getting the length of the code as 28.802 meter exactly. You have this bonus 1 mark. And the next mark is substituting in attempt to get the length of the minor arc, your theta, your pi, and your r correctly. You have this method 1 mark. And when you now have the length of the minor arc as 30.8 meters exactly, that gives you this accuracy 1 mark. And when you now add the two results, that is the length of the code plus the length of the minor arc, if you now substitute them in this, you now have this method 1 mark. And the final mark is accuracy 1 mark when you have the perimeter of the minor segment as 59.6 meters exactly. You have this accuracy 1 mark. So in total this question, if everything is done correctly, you have 8 good marks.